classify each of these triangles based on their angle measurements and their sides. First, let's take a look at this triangle. Let's classify this triangle based on its angle measurements and its sides. First, we'll take a look at the angles. Since we're working with a triangle, we have 3 angles to look at. Here we have this first angle here. We can label that angle NGP. Well, the measurement of angle NGP is 38 degrees. 38 degrees? That means that this angle is an acute angle. An acute angle, remember, is an angle that measures less than 90 degrees. So here we have an acute angle. Now let's take a look at this angle here. We can label this angle GPN. Here the measurement of angle GPN is 38 degrees. That means that this angle is also an acute angle, an angle that measures less than 90 degrees. Finally, we have this angle up here. We can say that the measurement of angle GNP is 104 degrees. That means that this angle is an obtuse angle, an angle that measures more than 90 degrees but less than 180. So, we have a triangle that has 1 obtuse angle and 2 acute angles. That means that we're working with an obtuse triangle. So, we know that we have an obtuse triangle. Now let's take a look at the sides of this triangle to see if we can classify it even further. Well, here we have this side, side GN. And if we look, side GN measures 8. Now look at this side here, side NP. Side NP also measures 8. So that means that those 2 sides are the same. They're congruent to one another. Now what about that third side? Here we have side GP. Well, side GP has a length of 13. That means it's not the same length as the other 2 sides. So in this triangle, we have 2 congruent sides. 2 congruent sides means that we're working with an isosceles triangle. And in an isosceles triangle, we not only have 2 congruent sides, but we also have 2 congruent angles. These 2 angles right here, they have the same angle measurement. So, not only do we have an obtuse triangle, but we also have an isosceles triangle. So that means we can classify this triangle as an obtuse isosceles triangle. Next, let's take this triangle and classify it by its angle measurements and its sides. First, we'll look at the angles again. Let's look at this angle up here. We can label that angle FRT. Well, the measurement of angle FRT is 22 degrees. So here we have an acute angle, an angle measuring less than 90 degrees. And here we have another angle that's an acute angle. This angle, which we can say is RTF, measures 68 degrees. So we have another acute angle. Now what about that third angle? Well, here we have angle RFT, and it has this little box. That symbol means that we're working with a right angle. So the measurement of RFT would be 90 degrees, the measurement of a right angle. Now, since we have one right angle in this triangle, that means that we have a right triangle. But can we classify this triangle even further? Well, let's take a look at the sides. Here we have this side, side RF. Well, side RF has a measurement of 12. Now what about this side? This can be side RT. Side RT has a measurement of 13. Looking at our third side, we have side FT. Side FT has a measurement of 5. So if we look, each of our sides has a different length. That means that none of these lengths are the same. So we have a scalene triangle. That means that we can classify this triangle as a right scalene triangle. Finally, let's classify this triangle. So again, we start by looking at those angle measurements. Here, let's take a look at this angle. We can call this angle BCS. Well, the measurement of angle BCS is 60 degrees. That means that we have an acute angle. Now what about this angle right here? Angle CBS. Well, the measurement of angle CBS is also 60 degrees. So again, another acute angle. Finally, let's take a look at this angle down here. We can call that angle CSB. Well, that angle measures 60 degrees too. So, we have 3 acute angles. Since each of our angles measures less than 90 degrees, that means that we have an acute triangle. Now we need to take a look at those sides. So let's take a close look at the 3 sides of this triangle. Well, this side has a length of 9, this one has a length of 9, and this one has a length of 9. They all have the same length. So, if we take the length of this side, side BC, that is the same as the length of this side, side CS, which is the same as the length of this side, side BS. They all have the same length of 9. Since all 3 of these sides have the same length, that means we are dealing with an equilateral triangle. So, we actually have an acute equilateral triangle. Now, we could have figured out that we had an equilateral triangle just by seeing these angle measurements, instead of looking at the sides. In an equilateral triangle, each of the angles, always measures 60 degrees. So, when we saw that our 3 angles each measure 60 degrees, we could have seen that we had an equilateral triangle. And because an equilateral triangle always has interior angles that have these measurements, that means equilateral triangles are always acute. And now we have taken each of these 3 triangles and classified them based on their angle measurements and their sides.